Hey, what's up, studs, and welcome to Ask MandR, episode 319, brought to you by our good friends over at Rakuten. More on them and how they can help you save even more money on your LEGO Star Wars purchases today and tomorrow later in the video. But first, we have a question from Smiles, the narrator, who says, what is the time frame between finding out about a set and physically getting it? For example, Jedi Bob Starfighter. So we'll start there, but I have other really great examples and a little bit of like drama behind Jedi Bob Starfighter and the Onyx Cinder, kind of all in one there, so we'll get to that. But we'll start with the Jedi Bob Starfighter. I found out about it on Saturday night, and I really would have known about it earlier and possibly had it sooner. I wasn't checking my Instagram DMs very much that day because I was busy doing a Whatnot stream, so simply just poor timing. But from the time I found out about it to the time I had it in hand, it was about 2.5 days because the postal services don't ship really anything on Sunday, and so your one-day shipping that goes out on Sunday really doesn't get there till Tuesday. So I found out about it Sunday night, got it done Tuesday morning, and got the review out, Tuesday evening at some point. It took me quite a while to get the review done just because they take me forever now. But yeah, I was pretty happy with that, and the timing wasn't that bad at all. Certainly have had longer in the past. The UCS Venator is a great example where I don't remember the exact time frame, but it certainly took 5 or 6 days to get that in hand from the day that I knew I was going to get it to like the day I actually got it. But that's because it came from so far across the world, and the person who had helped me get it had a friend who was a flight attendant, and she was like on an outgoing job and had to come back, and you've probably heard that story or seen that in a vlog or something. So yeah, that one took maybe the longest of any of them, and then maybe one of the shortest turnarounds I've ever had was all the way back in 2019, and many of you may not have even been watching me or watching LEGO Star Wars content when this happened. But when The Rise of Skywalker was coming out, a store that was like semi-local to me over in Tampa, Florida, had gotten a bunch of the new Rise of Skywalker sets, but I only knew they were getting one of them. Tomorrow, I'm going to a store called Learning Express over in Tampa to get the new version of that set there. I am ecstatic. It's going to be about 5 hours round trip. You tell me who else would drive 5 hours for only one guaranteed new LEGO set. So I'd called them up on a Saturday night right before closing, and they said they didn't have like anything but the Yoda they were able to tell me they had. I'm 5 minutes from the first store, which opens at 11 a.m. Well, that store was incredibly disappointing. As you can see, they had the old Kylo Ren shuttle, so that was the wrong one. That's not what we were looking for. So we are going to be heading over to the other store that I know I have UCS Yoda waiting for me at. And so I had all of those sets in my hands within like 18 hours of knowing about them, but that's just because it happened to be so local, which it just isn't always. And I assume you're asking about like finding out like I can get a set early and getting it, and not like finding out about a rumor about a set and getting it. If that's your question, then it's many months. So circling back to Jedi Bob Starfighter, obviously it took a few days to get the set in hand, but I had pictures of the box, and obviously the box pictures I think leaked out on like Sunday night. So basically, just in case the box pictures leak before I can put out my review of Jedi Bob Starfighter, I made a picture about the box pictures that I already have. They just aren't public. But if box pictures hadn't leaked of Jedi Bob Starfighter, my like goal and plan was for my review to be like the first like, oh, look, there's Jedi Bob's Starfighter box and image and a review, and it would have been insane. Obviously, it happened a couple days later, and it was still very cool to me. But Runset Bricks, I think, also was able to get his hands on one, and he did a review on one. LEGO is still out there illegally and wrongfully copyright striking other creators, and this is why for the last week or so, I have not talked about how I got this set, how I got the Onyx Cinder, because they actually copyrighted Runset Bricks' like Instagram account and got it removed for a few days, removed a bunch of posts, I think, about the Onyx Cinder and Jedi Bob Starfighter. I'm not on his account and I don't have all the details, but he sent me some of the messages with some of it, and it's something that I have experienced when I buy sets, you know, very legally, and then LEGO comes in and they're like, hey, you can't do that, you're copyright strike, you lose your channel, and like, it's a problem. And it's a deeper topic, honestly, for a longer video, but LEGO is still out there doing it, and I think that's just nasty, nasty work, and I was worried that they would do it to me. I'm gonna be honest. I was worried, but also like, if they did it to me, like, could you imagine, like, because it's so wrong that they're doing it, and they did it to someone else, but he has a small channel, so, like, he can't really fight back, which sucks. Like, there's not much he can do. I tried to guide him through it and help him a little bit, like, with what he can do and what his options are. I'm like, you know, email this email, tell them this, that, and the other, but don't do this and that. You know, I was like, you know, trying to help, but there's only so much I can do, of course, so I'm just putting the word out there that LEGO is still out there wrongfully copyright striking people's content on new LEGO sets, and it's just dirty work out there by the LEGO company. I get this one a lot, but it had a lot of likes this week from Matt. Says, if your house was burning down and you can only save one LEGO item, what would it be? It would have to be something irreplaceable. There's a couple items on my rare shelf over there I'm staring at that would just have to be on the list. I guess I could grab two at once, right? I got two hands, but the 1999 Toy Fair invite, that's really rare and hard to come by. It's not even about the dollar value. It's just, it's pure rarity, because I think the same about my LEGO Star Wars VIP card with my name on it. Like, you can't just get another one of those. So, I mean, it'd be some of the stuff on the rare shelf, whatever I could carry. It's a very hard question to answer, though, because it's like one item. Like the clone building event box is also something I hold near and dear to my heart as a collector. The New York Yoda that's behind me is one of 3 ever made. Like, if I'm picking one item, I almost, like, would rather not. You know, it's like at that point, you're just holding on when it's all gone, and it's like, that would suck. So, look, I don't like picking this question, and there's a reason I don't pick this question is because I hate thinking about the thought of losing everything like that. I know actually someone that recently went through that. He runs a great community website, Jedi Jack Penguin, and if it's still up, I'll put a link to his GoFundMe down below. But honestly, like, the reason I get this type of question a lot, and I don't pick it very specifically because, like, it's such a horrible thing to have to go through, and I hope no one else ever has to go through that again. Transformers fan says, remember how the 330-second battle pack had its price lowered before release? What are the chances of LEGO doing that again with the insane prices of the rumored 2025 sets? I think the 330-second battle pack was a unique situation, so I look at all of these upcoming rumored prices as more or less final. Obviously, it's crazy that Ahsoka's Interceptor might be $45, but I don't think it's so crazy that LEGO is going to realize that and make it $40 instead, you know what I mean? So I don't think that it's very likely, if possible at all, that the price of Ahsoka's Interceptor or the ARC 170 would come down $5 or $10. Like, those prices are probably pretty dang final. It's a sad reality, and I don't get any pleasure from telling you I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. So get ready to open your wallet. And with those high prices in mind, we got to talk about today's sponsor, Rakuten. Rakuten is the world's largest cashback site, partnering with over 3,500 of the biggest name brands, including some of the best places to buy Lego. You can earn cash back by clicking through to the website of your choice and shopping like normal, which I did recently and earned $4.15 back on my May the 4th Be With You purchase. Or you can make it even easier for yourself by downloading the browser extension so you get reminded automatically to click through to activate the cash back while you're shopping for some new Lego sets. From July 15th to July 17th, Rakuten is hosting their Big Stack event, and Lego is even partaking in this, offering 10% cash back. I checked Lego's site. There's some awesome sales going on that you could take advantage of this with. You could also use this extra 10% cash back on pre-orders for new Lego Star Wars sets, and it also appears this 10% cash back is valid on UCS sets. On top of that, if you're new to Rakuten and you sign up with my link in the description below, you'll get a $30 bonus when you spend $30 or more. I really feel like Rakuten is a must-have if you ever plan on buying something online. It just helps put extra money back in your pocket. Again, link in the description below. Get that $30 bonus, take advantage of that 10% Big Stack event, and let's get back to the questions. Umbrella Guy says, do you think we will ever see a Geonosis Arena? And thank you for the kind words at the end of that one. They were developing one back in the early 2000s with the release of Attack of the Clones, and they have basically never revisited the concept, I think. We've essentially only ever had one more set attached to the Geonosis Arena in the Acklay foil pack from like 2018. So basically, that's it. If they were ever going to do one, it would not be a Master Builder series set, in my opinion. It's just one of those things that's so niche. Why would it be $400 when they could probably do an okay job with the 3 animals? You get the little chariot with Anakin and Padme on it and some Jedi to fight in the middle, maybe for $160, $170. I really think they have a lot of untapped potential in that range for play sets. Yavin, Hoth, Endor, Geonosis. There's so many builds and battles and bits of scenery that can be done really nicely around $150 to $200. So I think they will eventually do something like that for the Geonosis Arena just from fan demand alone. Quick one here from Bates says, which revamp would you rather from Lego and why? Lord of the Rings or Pirates of the Caribbean? I personally just like Pirates of the Caribbean more. I've seen all of the movies for both, and Pirates of the Caribbean is definitely more enjoyable for me. Maybe that's because it has more of a comedy aspect with Jack Sparrow, and I just get a lot more kicks out of that. But I do lean towards Pirates of the Caribbean. I like them both a lot. I own a lot of Lord of the Rings sets. I own all of the Pirates of the Caribbean sets, although they are all sealed in box and I've yet to do anything with them, but I do have them all. So I would love to see them bring back Pirates, just because it would also fill the void of what people want in a Lego Pirates theme, but also with the caveat that it's not about whatever new movies they come out with. Somewhat like Indiana Jones. If they could bring back Pirates of the Caribbean like they did Indiana Jones and do 4, 5, 6 sets, just one and done. It doesn't have to be a theme that comes back forever, maybe including a direct-to-consumer set though too, just because I think it's got that kind of name behind it. Yule Bill says, dude, are we gonna get Force Ghosts soon? This has been a topic for a long time, and Lego Star Wars for a long time has refused to do Force Ghosts. Basically every other toy company for Star Wars, though, has done Force Ghosts. But I do think if the rumors end up being true that an Ewok Village is going to be released in 2025 as a Master Builder Series set, that they have to include Force Ghosts. It's just one of those things that you can't not include. Kind of like including some of the random bar goers at the Mos Eisley Cantina in that Master Builder Series set, because like what else are they going to come in? The one and only Sniper God says, what was your best year in terms of overall channel growth and why? So if we look to 2020, of course, I gained the most subscribers. I think that's what you're asking, is what year did I gain the most subscribers? Now, if we look at a more overall trend graph of the channel, it's a little bit harder to tell. I mean, it's been pretty steady growth since about early 2018. Like, you see a pretty sharp uptick at the end of 2019, early 2020, but the slope has been relatively steady for like 5 years. And we could eventually hit 1 million subscribers, which is just insane to me. It would be pretty cool to have a third play button back there. If you can see the two above me, you know, just the gold one in the middle would look super sick. But yeah, it was definitely the COVID year in 2020. And certainly since then, even more people have continued to get back into Lego. But that was the year that I think there's a pretty clear line in the sand where like Lego started the Adults Welcome thing. And obviously I'd just been making content for years and years and years. And I just feel like I was in the right place at the right time, making content about something that people wanted to see, and clearly was, and still am, very passionate about it. You know what I mean? And I think maybe the more interesting graph to look at is actually the monthly graph, because still the most amount of subscribers I've gained in a month is 19,395, and that was in January of 2020, before all of the lockdowns and everything. So a lot of people think like, oh, you know, your channel must have blown up because of it, but it really was blowing up before it. So it was like really like, it just, like I said, right place, right time, where everything was going well and I was doing what I felt like was good stuff, good content, and I was starting to get pretty good at it. And yeah, so 2020 was definitely it. Shout out to the real ones that were subscribing back in 2011 and 12 and 13. Rod the YouTuber 3 says, would you consider buying multiple Peridia sets to build the whole platform? And I think I would do this as a YouTube short, first off, because I don't think it's as conducive to a full video like the Tantive 4 hallway or the Death Star trench run. But I also think it would be more difficult than those. Those are relatively straightforward. This isn't just like a plug and play like the Tantive hallway or build opposite. I think I'll give it a shot as a YouTube short. Mila Actual says, we need a new UCS ATST. I agree, and I kind of wanted to bring this point up here. With the ATST, something like maybe a UCS Scout speeder bike, we really need more UCS sets for Lego Star Wars that are under the $240 price range. But the problem with the UCS ATST or UCS Scout bike is that they don't hit the threshold that Lego doesn't want to go below. But I feel like Lego UCS or Lego Star Wars UCS would do really well in price ranges like the old Lego Guardians Milano or whatever it was, where it's like $150, and you can make these UCS-esque sets at that price tag. The ATST you bring up, though, is definitely one of the UCS sets I'm most nostalgic for, because when it was coming out, I was so excited, like when pictures first came out, that I rebuilt the faceplate, like just out of plates that I had. Like, you know, it's rare that I get that excited over a set that I have to build it before I have it, you know what I mean? So the ATST is definitely one I'd love to see again, and I think it could be done again if they open up their eyes to doing more smaller UCS type builds that don't fit in the rails of the Starship Collection or the Helmet series or the Buildable Character series. They need to be outside of that, but also not stuck in that $240 tag. Captain Chris says, do you think the rumored Ahsoka's Interceptor will have a Vulture Droid or Tri-Fighter like the 2009 Ahsoka Starfighter? And unfortunately, I do not. First off, by the simple virtue of the fact that it's not part of the original rumor, and I don't know the last time we got a whole nother ship with a thing that wasn't rumored to come with a thing. I also think if anything else were included, the set would be even more expensive. If we look to the 2012 Anakin's Interceptor, it came with some small Mustafar builds and a couple extra figs, and that, back in 2012, cost $40, which would probably be like $55 now. It's the unfortunate reality that we're probably going to find ourselves in come January of 2025. And I also think this Ahsoka's Interceptor may end up being kind of a turning point for a lot of people as to like, is Lego Star Wars really overpriced? I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and this one might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. The Desert Skiff has been bad. I know a lot of people said the Justifier was bad. I really disagree. I don't think the Justifier was that overpriced, but that's neither here nor there. I do think there are some now objectively overpriced sets in the Desert Skiff and the upcoming Ahsoka's Interceptor, if it is what we all think it's going to be, or what most of us think it's going to be, I suppose. Jedi Bob Starfighter here at $40 is also one that many people might think is overpriced too, so I think it's kind of reaching that fever pitch for Lego Star Wars, and we'll see where things go come next year, but this one could be a turning point. Jaden says, do you think with the success of the UCS Razor Crest and Venator, there's any likelihood of other TV show-based UCS sets, like a UCS Ghost from Rebels? I think the Venator's not necessarily a fair comparison because the Venator really is hyped up from the movies too, but the Razor Crest is a very specific TV show set, and so if we look to the Razor Crest, I think it's done okay. It's been on some pretty deep discounts, but I think it's done okay, and the show has been very popular. And so I feel like the most logical next UCS set from a show would not actually end up being the Ghost, although I think the Ghost is still very much on the table as it's continued to increase in popularity. HasLab is releasing a $500 Ghost. If we look back a couple of years, I think they released a $500 UCS Jabba Sail Barge for HasLab. It's not really UCS, I guess, but now LEGO is releasing a $500 UCS Jabba Sail Barge, so you can kind of see a little similarity there. But I also feel like Mando's N1 Starfighter is even closer to happening than a UCS Ghost, because it would fit right in that $240 range, which is even easier for LEGO to like throw something at the wall and see if it works. Like, they released a UCS Luke's Landspeeder. Of course, they would also release Mando's N1 Starfighter, in my opinion. So I think those are the current two most likely show UCS sets. I also kind of sneaky here. Andor has been so loved and had so much demand that if there is a ship from Andor that gets like really highlighted in the next season, we could like sneakily get an Andor UCS set, maybe. You know, that's kind of my pipe dream there, is that the show ends up continuing to be very good and people still really love it. But I think top two right now are definitely the Ghost that you mentioned and Mando's N1 Starfighter. Bubble Brick says, which Grand Admiral Thrawn minifigure do you prefer, this year or the first one from Rebels in 2017? And I thought I would always love the Rebels one. I mentioned this in my review, and I like the Rebels Thrawn better, like just from the show, like the way he looks in the show, not necessarily the Lego figure that we're going to end up talking about here, but I like that look and vibe better than what we had like IRL, just a little bit. And I think the IRL one is definitely growing on me, or has been growing on me. I mean, Rebels Thrawn was basically my first love. I mean, he's such a fantastic villain, right? But as it pertains to the Lego figures, I thought I would always think the Rebels one was better, except it didn't have dual molded legs. And I was like, yeah, well, you know, with dual molded legs, whatever. But it turns out in hand, the new one looks way better to me as I've continued to stare at it. Like, all things except for the code cylinders are just better on this new Thrawn to me. So I like the new Thrawn better. I think a lot of people will end up liking the new Thrawn better. Part of that to me is the color match of the dual molded legs and his hairpiece both being black. That definitely looks nice together. So I would give it an edge for that. But yeah, overall, I think the new figure is better. Got a couple comments about this. Last week, I talked about potential Lego Star Wars stuff in 2029. And they're like, guy mentioned 2029, bro, easy with jumping that far. Sheesh. It is absolutely not too crazy to start planting ideas for Lego Star Wars in 2029. Obviously, they're not designing anything for 2029 right now. They're not actively probably working on that year. But for reference, I imagine everything that's coming out in 2025 is just about completely done and designed by this point. And they're actually probably starting to work on the 2026 sets by now. You're only really a couple years removed on an idea board. You can write that down and be like, anniversary figures in 5 years. Like, why not? You know, there's no reason not to have some ideas to be ready for in a couple years when it's time to start working on that. So I understand, like, yeah, it's 5 years away, but at the same time, it's really only 2 or 3 years away in like Lego's development cycle. Like, I've been wanting to make a video talking about what sets I want to see next year for like the past 6 months, but I kind of haven't, because I'm like, well, it's already done and decided. It's not that crazy, but it is, but it isn't. And lastly, from Benjamin Morgan says, why do you think Lego keeps building cockpits where the minifig is staring at the sky these days? It looks like it's becoming a trend. And I assume this comment comes up because in the Onyx Cinder, it has the same style cockpit. And it's an unfortunate reality of the, you know, downsizing of a lot of these builds compared to what they would have been 10 years ago. I'm okay with it, but I also understand like not liking it and that you would rather have the minifig be able to stand up or sit up completely normally like they can in like a Jedi Bob Starfighter, you know? Like, I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's not something that I'm like personally caught up on, and it's probably something that's not going to go away, because they still want to be able to have figures fit in the cockpit, but they also have to downsize some of these sets so that they aren't $120 and they can be $80, you know, which I agree with you, it is definitely a trend. And with that trend comes the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button. If you want to check out today's sponsor, Rakuten, to help you get extra cash back when you purchase overpriced Lego Star Wars sets, make sure you do that in the comments, or rather the description below. And if you have a question or topic for next week's episode, please drop it in the comments section below. See ya!